Hello, can you hear me?
I hear you, Andrea. Yes.
Oh, hi. Let me just try and change my name here too.
Okay, Andrea, can you hear us?
Yes, there you are.
Okay, I had it on mute, I'm sorry.
It's
So
okay, just
once Rennie arrives, we can go ahead and start.
okay. Is my video on?
Yeah, I mean, we see like flashes of light.
I'm pulled over on the middle of the road in a safe spot, but it's so thank you for dealing with this.
Oh, here
Because
he
the
is.
car is driving by.
Well, Carl is here, we can start.
Hey, Carl,
Yay, Carl.
I just phoned you
To see I'm not coming?
to say you shouldn't come.
I'll go.
No, have a seat.
We are in forum.
We are. And Carl, did
All right,
you?
And I talked. Oh, sorry.
Today?
Go
I
ahead.
talked to Winnie, and he said if we want to start, we can.
Okay.
But that's up to you. He said he was going to be like 5-10 minutes late.
All right, that's what we'll do.
Sorry about that.
All right, so, good evening, everyone. All right, so this is our Laws and Rules Committee meeting. Today is Wednesday, November 16th. It is 6:33, and I'm going to call the meeting to order. We have one agenda item. We have an attendance rather, me, Rita Worthington, Chair, Barbara Hill, Alderwoman, Alderman Carl Frankel, and we also have Court Counsel here, Matt Jankowski. Welcome. All right, and so one agenda item, and this is the amendment. Oh, I'm sorry, we also have Andrea Schaff, virtually our council president. Sorry, Andrea, I can't see
All
you.
good.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, I could put on see that. Oh, there we
There
go.
you go, there you go. And I believe the Tenty, our clerk is also attendance virtually. All right, so one agenda item, and that's the amendment for the ETPA, possible requirement to reexamine. And President Shout is going to tell us about that.
Yeah, so just in the process of doing some cleanup work, when this was passed, there was conversation about adding this to the law that we passed a couple months ago about just coming back and putting a requirement in it to say that I think Rennie was the one who suggested it. I believe, if I remember correctly, it was every 3 years, just for so that the board goes back and reexamines.
I think it was 2.
2 years. Oh, thank you. I wasn't sure. And that's just something I just thought it was brought up and then it was dropped. So I just wanted to do some cleanup work and bring it back to see if this is what the committee wants to do. I believe Matt was kind enough to look into some other jurisdictions on what they do. So I just wanted to talk about it and see if you guys are still, if that's something that you want to do.
Yeah, I think that makes sense for them to review it every couple of years.
Definitely.
Is that, Matt, is that kind of what is happening in other jurisdictions?
In other jurisdictions, there are reviews. The one thing is just to have to make sure with the resolution that the wording is going to be that basically you guys conduct another study, not necessarily because there is a whole procedure that's involved if you are going to change the law. So the resolution should just require every couple of years that another study is conducted to determine whether that 5% threshold is met or not.
So that was my question. What do we mean by re-examine the board? That's very vague and not clear to me.
Yes.
So do you have?
Yeah, it was redoing the study that Bartek's office did, just to see, if things have changed one way or the other, just because things did change.
And did we
Sorry,
talk?
I should have been more clear with that. I apologize.
Did we talk to Bartek about this at all? Because his office would actually be doing the study, right? Every a couple of years?
Yes, I believe he's in the call, right?
I am on the call.
Oh,
Alright,
I'm sorry,
bye,
Bartek.
Bartek.
I didn't know you were there. I'm sorry.
We didn't say anything.
You were hiding behind Andrea.
In
Okay.
the back seat?
Yeah.
Mark-
He's
Mark-
back in the-
Every strong woman is a strong man.
Bartek, did you want to weigh in?
I think it's a perfectly fine amendment to make, to reexamine, whether it's every 2 or 3 years. And when it comes time, I think the office could make a determination as to whether it can be done internally or whether additional funds would be needed to outsource the study. But I think that determination could happen at that time.
Okay, good.
Do you have a sense with 2 or 3 years, besides less work from other? What do you think would be right?
Bartek, can I ask, I'm sorry, can I ask you how long it took you to do the study?
I didn't hear, say that again, please?
Yeah,
How
it,
long did you do the study?
yeah, the study itself, it took a few weeks of planning, of course. And then there was the actual period itself when the study was open, which was officially 2 weeks, over 2 weeks. And then there was, of course, a lot of follow-up that was involved. So I wouldn't say it was easy per se or an easy lift, but it's definitely doable to do internally, which is why that's the course I took in the spring.
Yes.
So I have another question in terms of, okay, so suppose we, in 5 years, we do another study, and it determines that there's in fact now a fair amount of vacancy. And just suppose then we decided to repeal the ETPA. My concern would be what would happen to rents after that? Would there be a way of instituting any rent changes or limits in the absence of the rent control board? You see what I'm saying? So if we decide that there's enough vacancy now, and then we repeal the ETPA, would landlords be able then in those units, could they just immediately double the rent?
Right. I'm looking at Matt through
But you guys do have, it's not just like all or nothing. You guys can reevaluate and say the study, you could say that, the emergency is partially abated, that it's not, and you can make modifications so that, not all of the current restrictions under the ETPA are in place, but just modify it so that some things do remain.
So I thought if it was more than 5%, the threshold for ETPA was void, and therefore I'm questioning this semi sort of thing.
That's the general,
Okay, yeah.
but there are where, if it was previously in place where you can make modifications, but obviously if there was something, if it was way above 5%, but if it's rate hovering around within that range, that this could be a temporary fluctuation, and there can be certain modifications. You will have to go through the procedures, the same procedures to pass it, to repeal or modify it in any way, with hearings and so forth, so that the public does get to their voice heard. It's not an all or nothing thing, unless, let's say it was like a 10%, then clearly it would be very difficult to justify keeping any kind of restrictions in place.
Good, thank you.
So if we did an amendment, do we then have to go through the process of doing another public hearing?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, well, not necessarily, not the amendment here, just where you guys aren't changing the substance of, you're not actually conducting a new study or anything, you're just,
Okay.
So you should be, let me actually get that. I'm pretty sure that we can, but we'll discuss it further
Okay.
and I'll confirm that. with Bob.
Okay, yes.
So, as we're talking about this, it seems to me like a proper period would really be 5 years for a look back. Because we see the amount of work that the current board is going through. We see that there's, it seems pretty clear that we're going to be in this same kind of situation for a fairly long time, economically, I mean, and in terms of like how long it takes to build housing and produce housing. So I don't see like a huge influx of new housing in the next 5 years. I mean, I've been on the board, on the council for 8 years, and we've put up, let's see, probably around 200 or 300 rooms, 400 at most. We've protected a couple of hundred more. So, I just don't see like a huge influx of new housing. And it seems too like you would want some stability with this. 2 years seems to me to be way too short for a look back. And at least at this point, 5 years seems like a decent period where you're allowed to go through the cycle several times. That would give us some good data, and then that would be a proper time period to look back at 5 years.
I agree that 2 years is too short because it's just everything takes so long to get through. By the time we finish this, it starts again, So, but the housing situation doesn't change that quickly either. So I agree with the 5 years.
5 feels a little bit long to me, Rennie. I mean, already we have had one set of decisions and it is being met with a lot of controversy, right? And so I think that we need to revisit the effectiveness of the whole affair. It's not just housing vacancy. It's like, is this actually helping people and is it helping the city? And I think that merits a look inside of 5 years because I've had any number of people going, ooh, that was really a scary decision that was made, even though there were short-term benefits. So I think we need to revisit this sooner than 5. I agree about 2, but I would vote for 3 or 4.
34, okay?
Or 34. Sure.
Yeah. We can certainly, I wonder, Bartek, do you have a feel?
I think, I would tend to agree that 3 feels like the right period of time.
Oh, okay.
I'm good with
I'm good with that.
I am good with 3.
Do we have to
I-
Um,
have to do anything?
I did want to ask you, with the board right now, we had the hearing where folk came in and talked about the look back period, how long it should be. So any amendment that we make to the ETPA, does that then coincide with what the board does, or do they do their separate rules or regulations? I don't know if I'm asking the question correctly. Is it their job to actually put the stipulation of the look back period on? And then how does that work with our amendment?
Well, I think it's because we're saying we want to study every 3 years, I think is the settled number. Then the study happens and then whatever happens based off of that study, the rent guidelines board would then have to reconvene off of that. So I think it's us, not them, that would do the look back because it's about the study, which is that came from the council, right? Or I should say the city.
Okay.
But Matt, if I'm wrong, please feel free to chime in.
Yeah, I'm not 100% clear with the question, but basically my understanding, all that you guys are changing here is just adding this study. If any further action or any action changing the status of the ETPA is done, the look back would be done at that time, and that's separate and distinct from this requirement that there's a study every 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah,
So there could be a study and it shows if nothing's changed and there's no need for any kind of change, and and no further action or no further look back is required.
Okay.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Barbara?
I have a question about the rent guidelines board that we set up. Is there an ability for that to turn over ever, or is that's the board?
So how long is their term is what you're saying?
Yeah, how long are their terms? Does anybody know that?
I don't offhand know exactly how long the members of
We
the
should get a term in that appointment.
Yeah, it would be nice to know if there was turnover or something, but we can look it up. Okay.
Good question. I would think so.
Do you know what the terms of the members of the rent guidelines board are?
There are terms, I don't know 'em offhand, Barbara.
And that's a state thing, right? That would be, yeah.
I
Right.
remember the staggered, I remember seeing it on that sheet of paper, but I don't remember what it said. But not everybody was the same amount of time. It was like, or, yeah, whatever, we'll look it up.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, or anything? No? So,
Can I just ask one question? This is my own ignorance, and Bartek or somebody here sure can answer it. So the board came with these recommendations. Does it have to be signed off by the state, or is this now final? What they came about the look back period and the rent reductions and all that stuff. Who knows the answer?
That was a final.
So this is not, the state doesn't have to sign off on it.
No, the vote that happened by the rent guidelines board, it does have to be certified, but that's more of a procedural step. And that happens within the board. There's no further approvals by the state that need to happen.
Thank you.
okay, thank you, Bartek. All right, so everyone, we're all on the same page as far as what the housing study, the year 3, we have 3 years, everybody good with that?
Yep.
Okay, good. All right, so then I'll entertain a motion to do an amendment.
Oh, do I have to say the amendment?
So,
I can repeat it, I'm a little,
Oh,
you do it.
I would like to move that we add something to the legislation that calls for a new housing study in 3 years' time to find out if we're at or over 5%.
okay. Do we want to say add, or are we actually an amendment?
Amendment.
Yeah, I would say a resolution to amend the resolution to add a stipulation of every 3-year study. Something along that line.
What she said.
Yeah,
I'm
What she
gonna put
said.
tape.
to repeat the housing study every 3 years.
Okay.
So, but we're amending the previous resolution to add a study every 3 years.
You know, I should.
I cannot off the top of my head remember what resolution number it is, so we should probably know that. I don't know if somebody with a computer.
I'm sure we can get that from Elisa, right?
144 of 2022.
144. Thank you, Matt.
He's earning.
Thank you.
He's earning his keep.
Have we done our formal motion, or are we going to do it again now? That count?
Sorry.
Have we made the motion?
Yeah, we did make the motion.
Who seconded? Or second?
So Carl. Right, I'm going to speak.
I made a motion with the help of Andrea Shaw. the assistant Shaw.
Okay.
We make a good team, Carl.
I should go to law school. That's my next thing.
Yeah.
I should too.
So a resolution to amend resolution 144 of 2022 to add a stipulation requiring a housing study every 3 years.
Perfect.
Yeah. Cool. All right, all in favor? All right. Any opposed? All right, that'll do it. So I'll just, Alicia, I will type something up and send it to you so you can put it on a formal committee report.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay.
You are going to need to sign that, though.
I will need to, okay, I'll need to sign it.
Yeah,
Are there no committee reports in the majority leader room?
Yes,
See, I can, I'll, you know,
There's There's usually some blank ones back there so that you could just add, that way you could all just sign it now and not have to deal with that later.
Right, unless I overlooked it, I didn't see it when
They
I.
might have gotten staff, they might have box.
Oh, okay.
Somebody may have left them in Andrew's office,
Oh, maybe so.
which is what I did stupidly a week ago.
Okay, so that was the only agenda item, but we do have Matt here, Assistant Court Counsel, to talk to us about, some things that's going on. And from what I understand, he says that we need to go into executive session.
Yeah, just if you want to update as to the status of current litigation that is involving some of these issues that we're discussing tonight. Yeah, we would want to go into executive session.
Okay, so Lisa, do we have a number?
Yes, I can,
Can you
I'll
text
send
it to me?
yes, I'll send it to you, Andrea. Bartek, you're gonna have to leave the meeting.
Thank you, Bartek.
Hi, Bart.
Thank you, Bartek.
And
Thank you.
I will-
Is it possible to just have Andrea call someone here
Yeah.
and then we'll? put
Oh,
this-
that totally makes more sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Who's,
Andrew,
thank you.
can you send me the number?
No, I'm just gonna call somebody's cell phone and you put me on speaker.
I got you.
Yeah, so who has a fully charged or closely, like, who should I call?
Yeah, give me a call.
Rita? Alright,
Yep.
so I'm gonna log off of Zoom and then call Rita. Cause I
Okay,
won't
and
come
then-
back to Zoom.
And when Brewer comes back into the room, we'll make a formal motion going into executive committee.
Yeah, so you're gonna make a motion to go into executive committee
Yes.
and then you have to come back into the meeting.
Yes.
Alright, so you're good. Alright, so I'll see you. I'll call Rita in like 2 minutes or a minute.
Public safety. Um,
Someone turn it off, sorry.
Sorry,
Is lawyer client?
is it,
Well, I make a motion to go into executive session to discuss the pending litigation involving the ET. Yeah.
hi,
Yeah.
all right, so can someone make that motion? please?
I don't know.
I believe we go to executive session, to discuss the ETPA litigation.
Go ahead, second.
Second.
Okay,
Are we cutting off?
are we turning the video?
Yeah, I'll turn that off as soon as the vote, everyone's
Yep.
in favor.
Yep.
Already, okay.
Okay, we have, we turned back into our regular committee meeting, and we have also come to the end of our agenda, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to
Bill,
adjourn.
second, all in favor? Any opposers, anybody want to say? No? All right, we're done. Thank you, guys, thank you for coming in. Matt,
Rick,
thank you.
if you raise 5 hands, does that mean you're a fifth and not a second?
I might drink